I would like to introduce Member of Parliament for St. John's East, Jack Harris. He was born in St. John's. He's practiced law for 30 years and is a founding member and a vice president of the Canadian Association of Labour Lawyers. He has been a member of the House of Assembly for 16 years and has led the provincial New Democratic Party. He's also the national defence critic for that party.
Thank you, Ed, and thank you for inviting me to join you today and to speak in solidarity with your concerns about how veterans in this country are being treated. As you probably know, my colleague Peter Stauffer, who is our Veterans Affairs critic, has been supremely active on veterans issues for the past 10 or 12 years in Parliament. Many of you may have spoken with him or had dealings with him on veterans issues. He has brought many of the concerns that have been raised as a part of this national protest to the House of Commons in the form of resolutions, questions, private members' bills, some of which I seconded to deal with some of the very issues that form part of the concerns raised by this protest. I think it's very appropriate that here in Newfoundland and Labrador, we are at our National War Memorial here in St. John's. I know that across this province and across the country, similar meetings are being held at MPs' offices to show on a national level a lack of concern and a feeling that veterans are not being properly looked after. Here in Newfoundland and Labrador, of course, we have a very special feeling for, concern about, respect for, and recognition of the veterans going back to the Beaumont-Hamel First World War event, which seared the lives of so many Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, that we remember that sacrifice. And as has been mentioned earlier, Newfoundland and Labrador contributes way more than its share per population to the Canadian forces. So here in this province, we have a particular concern because we, all of us, have family members or friends or relatives who have served and who serve today, whether it be in peacekeeping missions, whether it be in Afghanistan, whether it be as an RCMP officer or even a Royal Newfoundland Constabulary officer serving in Haiti or Kosovo or any of the many places where Canada asks people to serve. And you know, we have constantly heard a refrain from our government about supporting our troops. And it's almost used as a political tool, frankly, which I resent, because everyone in Canada supports our troops. We support our troops, we recognize the risks that they take, we recognize what they're doing for our country because they've been asked to do so. But supporting our troops also means supporting them when they come home. And therein lies the problem. We don't have adequate support for veterans. We don't recognize, and until recently, serious psychological injuries have not been recognized. As you may know, I brought to the attention of the House of Commons last week the case of Corporal Langridge, who had served in Afghanistan and in Bosnia, served with distinction in both of those conflicts. And he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder. He suffered from severe depression related to that. He attempted suicide 6 times, and on the 7th time was successful. Still a serving soldier on a base in Edmonton. And the family of that individual had to go through hell to try and get answers to what had happened, how he had been treated, why things had happened to him, and in fact got a runaround to the point that the mother had to come to Ottawa to try and get some answers from the government, from the Minister of Defence, from the Chief of Defence Staff as to why this case had been treated so badly. But I think, and one of the things that I made clear to the House of Commons and publicly was that here we have an individual who served his country, who suffered injuries in that conflict, and as a result of those injuries, he lost his life. And as far as in my books, an individual who loses his life in that way loses his life as a result of his injuries the same as someone who has physical injuries. That has to be recognized front and center. We have come a long way, and I don't want to say that everything that Veterans Affairs does is wrong. A lot of very good things are happening through Veterans Affairs, and this is not a protest that says that Veterans Affairs is doing nothing for veterans. I don't think that that's the case. We had a debate in the House of Commons earlier this week, and when it was made clear that the support for veterans through Veterans Affairs is very large across this country and has been for many years. But there are problems. And no one knows that better than Colonel Pat Strogan, who's been the Veterans Ombudsman for the past 3 years. And he appeared before our Veterans Affairs Committee. I was there asking questions, and he talked about the difficulties even he was having in getting answers from within the department about individual cases. And when you've got someone appointed by the Prime Minister of this country to be in charge of Veterans Affairs, and he can't get the cooperation that he needs, it's not a wonder. It's not a wonder that veterans across this country are having the kind of problems that have led to this unprecedented National Day, whereby veterans and their families and their friends are coming out in numbers like this to show their concerns about how veterans are being treated. And you know the difficulties that we're going to hear from others about what the specifics of this protest are all about. But we know that struggles have been going on to get recognized, for example, access to DVA pavilions for veterans who need them. I heard the Minister of Veterans Affairs use the phrase in the House of Commons the other day about the traditional veteran, as if there was a difference between the so-called traditional veteran and veterans from peacekeeping activities post-Korean War, veterans of conflict in Afghanistan, in Kosovo, in the former Yugoslavia, and elsewhere where Canadians have served. There's one veteran in this country, and that's a person who has served his country, her country, in foreign lands, in conflict, putting their lives at risk, and in fact, in many cases, suffering injury as a result, and far too many, unfortunately, losing their lives. As has been mentioned before, I think in the resolution of the City Council, those who serve their country in this way offer and suffer and put their lives at risk. They're looking at unlimited liability. They, in fact, are prepared to give their all, and we have to recognize that when they're home, they needed to be treated with dignity and respect, and not have to fight for something that they deserve. We've got outstanding issues with respect to Agent Orange, for example. Instead of having to fight the courts against veterans or service people looking for justice, there should be a way to resolve those things and provide the kind of dignity and justice that veterans deserve. So I just want to say here and now that I am here treat all veterans with dignity and respect, to solve the problems that exist, and they are many. To solve the problems that exist, to problems, and not try to divide one group against another, and recognize that there are needs that are different. That there are needs that are different. That the one-size-fits-all solution of the lump sum payment, for example, cannot work for many people because of many reasons. I won't go into all the details. You know the problems, you know the issues. There has to be a continuing support to make sure that in a time of need, the Department of Veterans Affairs is there to help a veteran who is in need. And that's what has to happen. And I think as a result of this protest, demonstration, call it what you will, it's a nationwide cry of concern that our government is not treating veterans fairly. This is unprecedented. I don't know of any other time in the life of this country that veterans had to show this kind of concern to get action from the government. I want to commend you all for being here to show this support. and I want to commend the organizers for making this possible. You've done a great job in raising this concern, and I think that we've already gotten some actions. As you already know, there have been actions taking place in the last a couple of weeks as a result of these plans, and there should be more. And I'm looking forward to hearing your petition and other specifics that we can take to the House of Commons and bring to the government. So thank you once again for having me, and good luck with all the good luck with